Hey guys, my name is Matsumo, and today I want to take a look at a new World War II game called Day of Infamy. The guys over at New World Interactive, the same ones that brought us Insurgency, one of the more refreshing first-person shooters that have come out recently, are now creating this one. They're taking all of the great aspects about Insurgency, putting a World War II spin on it, changing some things slightly, and so far, I'm really impressed by the game. Going into this, you do need to know that it is a hardcore first-person shooter. Pretty much every single one of the weapons is going to kill in 1 to 2 bullets. This is not Battlefield, this is not Call of Duty, and if you go into it assuming that you can just bum rush the objective out in the open and expect to be successful, you're going to be in for a bad time. But if you play things more methodically, you use the gadgets at your disposal like smoke grenades, you're communicating with your teammates, you're slowly pushing on these objectives, it is one of the more rewarding first-person shooters that you can experience, especially in this World War II setting. And so that being said, the actual weapons themselves are really fun and authentic. The one that I'm enjoying the most so far has to be the flamethrower. It might be on the weaker end of the spectrum compared to some of the other weapons in the game. I'm assuming this is for balancing reasons. But the first time I laid eyes on this, I assumed that it was going to be absolutely worthless. You look at every other first-person shooter out there that usually has a flamethrower, they suck. Bad Company 2 Vietnam has to be the best example of this. It had a 5-meter range, it took forever for you to actually kill the enemy, and if the enemy had any brain cells whatsoever, they're gonna be able to take you out no problem. That's not really the case with Day of Infamy. As long as you use this appropriately, and it can be a little challenging to close the gap on the enemy, especially on some of these more wide open maps, but if you are able to close the gap, this thing can absolutely devastate the enemy team. As for the other weapons in the game, one of my worries that I had was that because there's automatic weapons here, and there's also bolt action and semi-automatic rifles, which a large majority of the people are going to be using, I was worried that the automatic weapons were going to be the best of the best. And while in the right hands and in the right situations, they can ruin the enemy team, I think so far the developers have done a good job at making that fine balance. Automatic weapons are of course going to be better for close encounter combat, while your semi-automatics and bolt actions will excel at a distance. I think what I enjoy most about this weapon and class balance is that each and every single one of them plays and feels different from all the others. I think the best example of this are the light machine guns. If you're able to get a light machine gun down on the front lines, you're on defense, you can get bipoded up, you are going to ruin anyone that you come across. You have a lot of firepower, a lot of bullets, high damage, high rate of fire. You are going to ruin the enemy if they rear their head anywhere near that objective. The thing is though, is that you're stationary. You don't have a lot of movement going on, which leaves you very vulnerable. And so that firepower comes with a severe disadvantage, and that's the fact that if any sniper is competent, they're going to be able to take you out no problem whatsoever. And so it brings in this nice rock, paper, scissors kind of balance to the battlefield that other games tried to attempt, but I think they do a really good job with this. Is it perfect? No, it does have its flaws. Even after a couple of hours of playing the game, I was noticing that some weapons felt significantly better compared to some of the others, but this is in early access. I should have mentioned that at the start of today's video. This game is in development, but hopefully that will give them plenty of time to iron out the kinks and ensure that each weapon feels unique and distinct from all the others, but also powerful enough so that it can stand on its own. In general though, I'm really impressed by what they delivered on with the weapon balance so far. Now, one thing that I'm not 100% sold on is the addition of a mortar or artillery system when you're playing as an officer. If you're playing as a squad leader, you can team up with someone else who has a radio beacon, and you can call in a mortar on the enemy's head. It does a massive amount of damage. Pretty much anyone left out in the open is going to die a horrific death, and while I like the fact that it requires teamwork, not just the squad leader or this officer, whatever it's called, can call it in by them lonesome. They do need to have a teammate with a radio beacon to call it on in, so it requires some teamwork, it requires some synergy there, but I just don't like how much influence this has. This is the reason why I despise the commander mode in Battlefield 4, because you give all this power to one person. If you have a lonesome recon running around, they're getting a couple of kills, they're not very good, they're kind of a terrible player, they're new to the game, it doesn't really change the outcome of a 64-player match. They don't really do a whole lot to change the outcome of a battle. But if that same person is now the commander and they're doing a terrible job of it, it can really change the outcome and put your team at a massive disadvantage. And while I would not go as far to say that it's that bad in Day of Infamy, I don't want to paint this horrible picture that the mortar system has ruined the game, not by any stretch of the imagination. I just don't like this conceptually. And while I understand why they may have added it on in, Red Orchestra 2 actually has this. If you're playing as the squad leader or the commander, you can call in mortar strikes all the time, and that allows you you to push up onto the objective. If the enemy is hunkered on in, the only way sometimes on some of the maps is to call in the mortar to disrupt their front lines so that you can push up onto the objective. My problem with that is I would rather there be better map design where you don't have to rely on mortars, because I find that just dying to something out of nowhere isn't enjoyable, especially something that's called from above and you didn't even know that it was falling on your face. And so all in all, it's not the worst thing ever, but it is one of my biggest critiques so far with Day of Infamy. And then lastly, I wanted to talk about the maps. So far, because this is early access, there aren't a lot to choose from, and I think this is also one of the bigger weaknesses of the game right now. If you're looking for a lot of variety, at least in the map department, you're not gonna find it. There are some great ones. I will say that running through the streets of Sicily and taking out your enemy in close quarter combat with a wide array of guns is very satisfying. And then all of a sudden switching to basically D-Day, where you're storming the beaches and getting into the trenches, is also an amazing experience, but there just isn't a lot of other maps other than that right now. I don't know the exact number, but I feel like it's maybe 5 to 6. I could be wrong on that. And so once again, this isn't early access. They are going to be in development. If you're going into this expecting it to be a fully fleshed out game with all the content, you're going to be in for a bad time. All in all, though, I'm really impressed with Day of Infamy. It may not be perfect, it may have a long ways to go, but at least so far, I'm having a lot of fun with this game. And so if you're looking for a hardcore World War shooter, something like Insurgency, if you enjoyed Insurgency, you're probably gonna love this game. I highly recommend that you keep this on your radar. Maybe not buy it outright, maybe wait for a couple of months, see where the development progresses, but if you're looking for a brutal, hardcore World War first-person shooter, I definitely recommend that you give this a look. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Give me your thoughts on Day of Infamy. Are you loving what you're seeing? Is this not really up your alley? Let me know down below. But yeah, until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.